And I want to thank you again for coming to tonight's event, Reducing the Impacts of Community Violence in the School Environment. And I am going to pass it off to Captain Andrew Muhammad to get us started.
Oh man, thank you, Adam. I appreciate that. Good introduction, Adam. You could have took over the whole training process, sir.
Appreciate you, Cap.
Yes, sir. Thank you. First and foremost, I want to thank God for this opportunity. I want to thank the Baltimore City Youth Fund, the president who was just promoted to the position. I want to thank the leadership and the team that put together to pick Baltimore brothers to be a part of this beautiful opportunity. I'm honored, and this is truly my passion, something that I desire to do, we desire to do. And once again, you know, I am nervous. And once again, I was always taught that God can use you if you're not nervous when you're coming in front of his people. So this is showing up a great opportunity for me. I'm looking forward to this training the next 9 weeks. Also, we have TA sessions, technical assistant sessions, which will be on Fridays, every Friday at 10 a.m. From the Wednesday's meeting. So thank you all for being patient with us. We have an awesome lineup, some of the top men that does this work every single day, some 30 years, some 35 years, some 40 years, some 20 years, some 10 years. But these men on the ground, boots on the ground every day, all day. And I'm looking forward to hearing from them myself. We have met several times in preparation for this, but I can honestly say, you know, and I say this with great humility, these guys really don't need to study for this presentation and this training because of what they do every single day. It's in their hearts, it's in their minds, it's in their souls. And the number one thing is they really care and love. And let me say that again, they love our children. They love our youth. And without love, you can't do this work for 20 and 30 and 40 years, 10 years, boots on the ground. You have to love this work in order for you to be consistent, which is one of the hardest things that Dr. Bundley taught me. Everybody want to do the work, but can you be consistent at it? So I just want to do a little backdrop about Baltimore Brothers, because I know a lot of people really don't know who Baltimore Brothers is, how did it get started? And I just want to give you a backdrop. Baltimore Brothers was birthed in 2015 from the riots or the uprising. And we personally took 50 men down there to see what we can do to help save lives, particularly young lives. And, you know, from that came Baltimore Brothers. I won't get into all the details, but initially we did not have a business of operation as it relates to serving youth. So, you know, one of my mentors told me, Brother Andrew, you need to start a youth organization or mentor organization. And that's how I was birthed right there. So that's the basic beginning. And I don't want this meeting to be about Baltimore Brothers only, because we have qualified people, qualified leaders that's going to share their experience, going to share their training, and they're going to introduce to you all exactly what we believe some of the solutions. We understand that this work cannot be done by just the 50 of us on this line. We know it's going to take, you know, the citywide to save our youth, to save our city. We already know this is too much work to be done. So we need everybody. We need all hands on deck. That's why this training is so important. So our prayer, my prayer is we take full advantage of this opportunity. Please take notes. I hope you have a pad and a pen so you can see exactly and hear exactly what's going on. And you can use this training and this information to apply this to your organization, your operation. And together, we'll be able to save lives together. So I want to start off with introducing the first presenter, one who's been doing this work over 30 years, one who is one of my mentors, one who I know that's in love with our children, one who I believe should be running the schools right now, to be honest with you. That's just my opinion. But I've been working with this guy the last 4 years. I've seen his work. I've seen the love the children and youth have for him in the city. Everywhere we go, they always asking Dr. Bundley, Dr. Bundley, Dr. Bundley. They always call him Doc, Doc, Doc. And he's a great example. He's a great example for our youth. He's a great example for us. And I'm honored to be introducing Dr. Andrey Bundley. Doc, can you hear?
Yes, sir, Captain. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear, Doc.
Okay, thank you. I thank you for that introduction. I won't be long, but whenever you come before our people, you don't really need to be long, but you got to be strong. You got to be strong. You got to speak truth, right? And so I want to start with some truth, and the truth just came out of your mouth, Cap. You said together we can save lives, and we just don't have enough people believing that. But the reason that I accepted this invitation, because this is a process that's going to help us save lives with committed people. People who are willing to be a part of one band, one sound, with the right information and the right actions, all moving in the same direction, basically executing our assignments, right? And so if you don't believe that, then that's a problem. If you do believe that, and you on this call because I believe you believe that, we have to be able to get everybody in Baltimore involved. Baltimore is only 92.2 square miles. And when we talk about Baltimore, a lot of people talk about Baltimore as if Baltimore is not its people. Baltimore is its people. We got two groups of people in Baltimore, and I've seen it over and over and over. You have the concerned people, and you have the complaining people. That's what you have in Baltimore. You have people who are concerned about Baltimore and people who complain about Baltimore. And of course, the individuals that complain about Baltimore, hopefully not on this call, or hopefully if you're on this call, that you'll learn to be concerned about Baltimore. Because let me make the distinction between the concern and the complainers. Every time if you watch a concerned person and you watch yourselves, just look at yourselves if you're on this call. Concerned people contribute. They find contribution, they find solution. Complaining people criticize. If you looked at it mathematically, concerned people do math by addition. They add something to the people. By multiplication. They want not only the good to exist, they want the good to be multiplied. But let's look at the complainers. The complainers do mathematics by subtraction and division. They criticize. They want to divide people. They want to take away from people. And so we don't have to spend time with a lot of complainers. Just understand, if you feel the division and the subtraction when you're in the presence of a person, get them people away from you. Get them away from you. So I'm just excited that we can do this work. There's some specific science that we have to use, some social science. We have to be collaborative and synergistic. We got to come together 100%. You got to have an army of individuals. And last thing I'll say, you got to lead well and you got to follow well. And I would submit to you that the best leaders are ones who learn how to follow well. So I'll just start with that as an introduction, Kat. Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Doc. That was beautiful. Appreciate that, sir. And I want to go back to the title, Reducing the Impacts of Community Violence on the School Environment. And the next brother we get ready to bring on is boots on the ground. Unfortunately, it was a well-known I'll say a young man's life was taken, and he had the unfortunate situation of, the young man died in his arms. And this is the reason why that we're having this conversation and this training, because as we all know, the schools have turned into the streets, and the streets are turned into the schools now. So unless we get trained men and women to identify these issues and get inside of these homes and get more people involved that really genuinely care, the outcomes and the results are going to be the same. So this young man we get ready to introduce now is definitely one who's about change. I've seen his work. I worked beside him. He was in Renaissance and I was in Booker T. And every other day, every 3 days, it was a fight upstairs, it was a fight downstairs. Families coming up, guns, bats, sticks. And of course, we couldn't rely on the police, so we had to come together. But this is why it's important for us to have these conversations, because we have a lot of innocent children that's looking for our guidance, that's looking for our support, that's looking for our protection. And this is something that Corey is doing. So I want to introduce Corey Witherspoon. Can you hear me, brother Corey?
I hear you loud and clear, family.
Go right ahead, big brother.
I'm Corey Witherspoon. Takes me back to that day when Ananias was killed. But it also leads me to say that through tragedy, we healed. It was rough, but together as a community, we everybody pitched in, from the principal to the teacher to the students to everybody, Captain Andrews, so many times coming up to school, making sure everybody was good. So together, everybody healed. So little about me, Corey Witherspoon, been working with youth for 15 years, all the way back from Thomas O'Farrell Youth Center to youth transition school, level 5 school, to a Renaissance Academy, to Booker T, and now where I'm at is Pimlico Elementary Middle School. So a wealth of knowledge, and through my journey, Fox 45 Champion of Courage, CMBA Giver of the Year, that's Center for Black Male Achievement Giver of the Year, Restorative Practice Coordinator. I just got so many great things beyond my belt, but I make sure that I give and I study and I research, because it's about the passion, it's about the love of giving to the youth. So I'm so happy to go ahead and be on this panel tonight, and I just want to go ahead and embark the knowledge that myself and the rest of the people on here have to go ahead and help lift Baltimore.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Corey. Appreciate your commitment, brother, and your passion. I hear it in your voice. We're going to keep it moving. And I do want the audience to know we have questions, but we also will be expecting questions from you all as well. We want to make sure who's representing Baltimore Brothers, along with their personal operations and what they do, and their love for the city of Baltimore and our youth. And I want to remind everybody that these men that we have on here, the way I see it, these are not just no regular men. These are men that go above and beyond. And some of these men, well, I'm gonna just say all of them, because their lives on the line. It's unfortunate that we live in Baltimore City and the violence is spilling over to the schools. And this is what they do for a living. So nobody wants to wake up, take a shower, brush your teeth, and then when you shut the door, you may not come back home. Not for a teaching job, not for administration job, but that is the reality where we live at. and what we do and what we work at. So our objective is to find a way that we can teach and train not only the audience, but ourselves as well, and how we can help our city with this great issue that we have in our schools and our communities. So we want to bring on a brother who's been doing this work for a long time. He's actually a bishop. He's probably in about at least, I want to say 15 or 20 schools, well-known in the city, changed his life around many years ago. He's a family man, and he gives back to our city, well-known around the country. So let's hear from our big brother, Bishop Billy Stanfield. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. First, I just want to say thank you, Cap, and the team for allowing me to be a part of this. I'm always on it. I'm more on it when I can share with my people and I can present with my people. And I have butterflies right now, and I do present on big stages in school districts around the country. But I have butterflies right now because I love my people, and it matters to me more about how my people esteem me than some of the broader audience that I have to speak towards. I want to say this one quote. Dr. King said, there comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe nor politic nor popular, but he must take it because conscience tells him, right, it is right. And the time is always right to do what is right. And he poses a question, what are you doing for others? When came home from prison over 20 years ago, I was the guy with both parents in the home, Cardinal Gibbons High School All-American, had tons of opportunity that other people didn't have. Made a lot of bad decisions that became a major drug dealer, something that was not my trajectory, nor was I raised to do. End up being shot up face to face with death. The Lord spared my life miraculously. Got locked up, spent time in federal prison. I made my mind up there that if I was alive, it had to be for a divine purpose, because according to the natural, I was supposed to have been out of here a long time ago. And so I was recruited by a gentleman out of DC who helped me to organize New Vision Youth Services. And it was all about recruiting people from the community. Dr. Bundley and I call them now credible messengers, culture influencers, the antibodies. You know, in order to cure a virus, you got to inject some of the virus. And so this is what we're all about. We're all about recruiting people from the communities, placing them in schools to mentor and build relationships with our young people. We're not reinventing the wheel. I'm a trainer of restorative practices. I'm certified in SECD. We believe in mentorship, but what we have found that makes the difference when you recruit people from the community who understand our young people, who can look at life through their reality, they are positioned better to build relationships. And that's what I'm here to just help us all to understand, that we are the answer to the problems that we see. I do agree with this old saying that united we stand, divided we fall. With all the wealth that we have in the city and everything that everybody is doing, it's something that Dr. Bundley and Captain Andrew said earlier. When we come together, we form this fist, because New Vision is not the panacea. We have some experiences over the last 15 years of school, some good, some bad, trial and errors, all a learning experience. But we do have data that supports that these evidence-based programs being implemented by people from the community. Some people call them OGs, whatever you want to call them, but these are people who've been part of the culture, who understand the culture, who can get close to the problem. They have an innate ability to draw our youth in. And so we have experienced that when these men and women implement these circles, they mentor our kids, they're interacting with our young people every day, that they're able to get outcomes with what society says are difficult populations. And so I just want to start with that because I do believe the answer is within. We have a wealth of ability and talent in our city and our communities, and we have to begin to tap into that. We're not discounting the research institutions. We're not discounting the academic world. It's one thing to write a conceptualized theory, is another thing to be able to implement it. And so I'm working with a person who had an epiphany on the justice system and that justice reform. This individual, if he wasn't who he was, and had the money he had, he said that the government definitely would have taken advantage of him. And he had an epiphany and a paradigm shift on prison reform because he realized that the prison system wasn't not about right and wrong. It was more about what Michelle Alexander said, that the prison is the system is the new Jim Crow. And that brings into place the school to prison pipeline. I believe that if we can keep young prison people in school and teach them how to achieve and excel in school, we can save more youth than what we're losing. Okay. And so I just wanted to put that out there as a beginning, just to introduce myself. I'm honored to be here, looking forward to interacting with everybody, and I yield the floor, Cap.
Beautiful, Bishop. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Excellent. We on track, y'all. So I want to give a special shout out to all the social workers, the principals, the teachers, the climate control, and administrators that's on this line. I always said that you all don't get paid enough. It's really not enough money to satisfy you because of your commitment and dedication. I just wanted to be known that, you know, we definitely respect and honor your sacrifice and your commitment in our tough city that's called Baltimore. So I just wanted to do that. And then also the next brother who I want to introduce, you know, this is the young man who's face to face with the young men who may have a gun, you know, in his drawers, or he may have a knife in his foot, or he may have a gun behind the bushes, or he may have weed, you know, in his buttocks, you know, or this is the brother who has to deal with the BGF brother, or the blood brother, or the Crip brother, or the brother who may be affiliated and may have to do initiations and may have to hurt a student or a teacher or do something foolish. So, and honestly, unfortunately, because of COVID, we're really not able to do the real training that we want to do, because some of the training that we wanted to offer, it really needs to be done in person. So hopefully at some point in about 5 or 6 sessions, we hoping that we can get out based on the safety and the conditions, you know, of this pandemic that we're in. But I want to introduce you to Timothy Wilson, who I can remember about 3 or 4 years ago when Achievement Academy, I walked in there and they were smoking weed. They was running up and down the hallways. They wasn't listening. It was like a jungle in there. And I went in there the last 2 years. He never left. He never gave up. Something was wrong, he would call me. It doesn't make a difference what it was, because every time he called me, I knew it was something serious. I'm gonna be honest with you, Tim. I used to hate your calls, bro. Because every time you called me, it was serious stuff. But I knew better than not to take your call, because I knew the seriousness of what could happen if I don't accept that call. So I want to introduce one of our big brothers that's running the climate control and achievement. Go right ahead, Tim. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Cat. Good evening, everybody. A little bit about myself. I started out as one of the juvenile delinquents myself, and one of my former mentors, may God rest his soul, Ray Cook, was one of the guys that stepped in and helped me change my life. And he made me a mentor at the age of 17, mentoring at his program, which was On Our Shoulders youth program. And later down the line, a few years later, I got a chance to meet Bishop Billy Stanfield and was able to work with him. I shared with Bishop that I want to be able to help our youth, and I want to help youth and students that were like me and help give them a chance. And Bishop was like, well, I'm gonna put you to test. And putting me to test was what he did. Because if anybody know Achievement Academy, Harbor City, man, it was like a jungle, a war zone in that place. And I remember calling Bishop and saying, I gotta go, man. I can't do this. I left the projects just to help these kids. I didn't come in here to go to war with them, right? And he said, I put you there for a reason. If you can't handle this, I'll get somebody else to do it. And to me, I'm like, you can't threaten me with a good time, baby. You know what I'm saying? So I said, I'm gonna make it work. And here it is 7 years later in Achievement Academy. As Roger Shaw would say, we in a Catholic school now compared to a jail school. But I never felt like I should have gave up, you know, and I felt like at times I gave up because I could have gave more. But it's like now I believe in myself more and I know I can give more because of the things that I see transitioning inside the school. Because in all actuality, I gave up with the streets. I just felt like there's never going to be a change in the streets. So I figured I would just stick with the school. But then I had to realize, well, these kids are coming from the streets, so I got to get back out there in the streets. So, and that's why I'm glad that, you know, a lot of y'all brothers was able to bring me in and grace me with y'all presence. Like Dr. Bundley, like he don't even know, like I was a student in his school. And one time I came to his school, it was like my first week there. And my probation officer happened to be there. And one of the guys in the office was like, oh, now we could put a name to the face because I would never come to school. And I'm like in front of my probation officer. And I remember having a conversation probably a year later with Dr. Bundley. And this was around the time when you was running for mayor. And you was like, keep on striving, Timmy, you're gonna make a difference. And this was in front of Alexander Hamilton Elementary School. And look where I'm at now. That's why I say it's a blessing. And some of the things that people say to these youth never know how far it may go later down life.
Yes, sir. Beautiful.
Praise God for that.
Praise God. That's right. Praise God for that, man. Leaders are good, man. Yes, sir. Good stuff. Good stuff, Big Tim. All right, so this next brother who I had the pleasure, he was actually in my Boy Scout troop 15 years ago, and turned out to be an excellent leader. Worked down with me at Juvenile Justice, and then also I was instrumental in getting him in Connections High School, which was at one point that school was it had a lot of issues there, a whole lot of issues there, and I know you all know about that. And same thing like Tim, he never gave up. And to this very day, you know, he's been promoted, been all through the ranks at the school. They love him, the children love him. And I always think about him because I know the mentality of our youth. You just never know when something gonna go wrong in the school. You just don't know. But the good thing is when you have a pulse on our children, on our youth, on the leaders inside the school, a lot of times they'll tell you, and they'll come to Isaiah and say, Isaiah, he got a gun in his book bag. He has it, or he bringing up some young guys up here. And then Isaiah will call me and we come in deep. And we done that at least 20 times. I've been to a school, you know, and it always turned out safe. Thank God for that. But that's just the reality of when you train, you know how to handle young people, relationships, and the respect and the love that we give them. That means a lot because when they see you, they understand that we come in here for peace and we don't want nobody to be hurt. So I want to introduce Brother Isaiah.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me, Brother Cat?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear, Chief.
Yes, sir. Now, thank you. I want to thank you and all these august men on this panel. I feel like a baby on this panel, Brother Cat. You got brothers been on here 20 years, 30 years, working with our youth. But I'm just grateful and honored for the pleasure just to strive to share anything that I've learned or that I know with those that are striving to do the same as well. Like Brother Captain said, I've been at Connections. Before Connections, I was at Booker T. Washington about 3 years. Then I went over to Connections. I've been there for the past 8 years. But like really, when I'm not good at coming up and talking about what I did or what I done or any accolades that I received, because I've always learned that whatever you do, it's always something else to do. Whatever you've done, it's always something else to do. So just us working in the school system, I've always noticed something about our youth. No matter if you come in there with a PhD, no matter if you come in there with a high school diploma, GED, BS degree, master's degree, bachelor's, associates, no matter what you come in there with to show how much you've learned in the educational system, these children don't care about how much you know. They just want to know how much you care. So when I always tell the people that come into the school to work as staff members, whether it's teachers, whether it's student support, I always let them know to be effective, you always got to make that transition. You got to make the transition from just being a staff member to becoming a community partner. A community partner is, I'm just not working in the four walls inside of the school with our youth and expect for the behaviors to change. I'm not going and seeing why that child acts like how he acts. See, when the behaviors of these children take place, they don't just happen when they walk inside the building.
That's right.
Something takes place before they even walk inside that building, which makes that child act like that. So if you're not concerned enough to go and find out why that child acts like that, because he may be taking care of himself and 3 other children at home, his mother may not be there, his father may be locked up, he doesn't want to come to school because he got to wear the same clothes over and over again, so he don't want to get teased. That's why he acts out. They really may not understand the work, so they want to get thrown out of class. That's why they act out. So if we're not able to go and find the root of the behaviors, you might as well just stop now. If you're not willing to go down there on Liberty and Garrison or go on Moses Street or go on Monument Street or go into the hoods of these children and see where they come from, you might as well just give it up. So we always have to understand we got to tap into our children on another level if we expect to change these behaviors, because it's not going to happen in those 4 walls of those schools. So that's all I had to say, Brother Captain. I thank you again for this opportunity. So thank you all again. Peace and blessings.
Yes, sir. Thank you, big brother. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
We got 2 more, and then we're going to get right into the questions. And then also we expect to hear from our audience as well. Thank you for that, Isaiah. So the next gentleman I'm going to introduce, man, I'm just being very honest. I met him through Dr. Bundley, and I used to hear about his name, but I never knew who he was. They'd be like, do you know Roger Shaw? No. You know Mr. Shaw? No. You know Roger Shaw? No. And man, when me and Doc hooked up, Doc, that was Doc homeboy, main man, big brother. So, and I'm saying that with respect and honor, because, you know, I never had a real chance. I met my father 3 times, and I'm a junior, but I don't know senior, right? But I was always taught to respect men who's doing great work. I was always taught that. I'm just being very honest. If a man is doing work and he's working, it doesn't make a difference how old or how young. You should respect that man. And when I seen the respect that Dr. Bundley and Roger Shaw had for each other, it made me feel good inside. First of all, I knew Doc, but I didn't know Roger. And Doc made it real easy because of their relationship. Roger Shaw took a liking to me, and we connected right away. And then my entire 9 years down juvenile justice, you would always hear about the Reengagement Center, you know, and I found out kind of late about it. I wish I would have knew a little bit earlier, but I would always hear about the Reengagement Center and the good work that they was doing down there. But I never knew who Roger Shaw was until I started working with the city and Dr. Bundley. And when that happened, man, I see why, because Mr. Shaw is committed, is dedicated. And if you don't know him until you sit down with him and then you hear him talk, then you'll know exactly the kind of man he is. So I'm honored to know this brother. And let's hear from one of our great leaders, Mr. Roger Shaw.
Thank you, Captain Andrew. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I just want to say I'm honored to be a part of this panel. There's so many brothers on this panel that I've worked with, and I've learned so much. And I don't want to get into the accomplishments, but I want to get straight to the point about what needs to happen and how it needs to happen from my perspective. The first thing I want to say is that you know, Dr. Bundley has taught me a lot, and we go way back, right? When we started teaching together, and I watched him do some things and connect. And then when we got into administration, he was always my kind of go-to guy to test out what I was thinking. So he was sort of like, he was my mentor. And it kind of carried me through to where I am now. And so just want to say that. So for Baltimore City, what I have realized, and I wasn't from Baltimore, I'm not from Baltimore, I'm from DC. And what I realized, Baltimore has everything it needs to help our young people. It has all the resources. It has just people like who's on this line and who is a part of the audience willing to go out there and sacrifice and make a difference for young people. The struggle sometimes is the coordinated efforts, and I think Billy Stanfield said it, in the collaboration. And this is the first step. And I believe that this is the step in the right direction. And when it comes to our youth, let me just say this. They can pick out a phony, right? You got to be authentic and genuine to get to understanding they're here and their why, right? And so just a quick example. This morning, I was in a school. A young man walked in the building, a teacher or administrator said something to him. He kept walking. She said, "Come here, young man." He kept walking. See, my frustration became my assignment at that moment. And so there were two other men, and we just started, "Young man, did you hear the young lady?" He kept walking. And getting back to what Brother Isaiah said, you got to get to the root. We followed him all the way down to the hallway to his next class. "Come here, young man." And we started to have that conversation, understanding his why and his here. And at the end of the day, we're putting him in a vocational program for culinary arts. See, understanding their why and their here. And so real quick, I want to say, your frustration becomes your assignment. And that's where I am.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mr. Shaw. I want to thank you very much. I want to give a special shout out to Dr. Phil Leaf, who's been very instrumental in helping me organize this. Myself and Doc worked on this for months. So thank you, Dr. Phil. I'll be coming to you too, Doc. We want to get right into the questions, to the subject matter at hand. So I want to reiterate the title one more time. Reducing the impacts of community violence on the school environment. So I have I have about 8 questions that I'm gonna read one, and then I do want a couple of you all to respond. I'm gonna start with you, Dr. Bundley. And Doc, I'm gonna read 2 questions, Doc. Just pick the one that you wanna respond to, Doc. The first one is, how can we understand the challenges of our youth today living in Baltimore? And the second one is, what's the impact of the absent father on the youth violence? You on.
What's the last one? Ask that last question. What's that last question again?
What's the impact of the absent father on youth violence?
Oh, the absent father. Yeah. Well, let me take the first one. And it's basically, I'm not going to spend a lot of time because we are learning how to not talk a lot as I've gotten older when stuff was said. let's go back to what Isaiah said and what Mr. Shaw said. Like, if you're going to make the difference, you got to have the relationship. Bottom line, if you don't know how to build quality, connected relationships with the individuals whom you're serving, you're never going to do it. And it just simplistically, as a principal, I was a principal for 10 years. And I had a lot of teachers that endeared me and staff that endeared me. And then I had a lot of teachers that walked away from the process. And it's basically, this is the reason. You can't tell me you want to teach and you don't like children. So my assignment, as Mr. Shaw said, became from my frustration. And my frustration is that somehow you snuck by me, or you snuck by the principal before me when I inherited you. You became a teacher, you don't like children. So how can I help you get to the place where you really want to be? Because based on your demonstration that you don't want to learn why they are in that place that they are, you can't be here. So that's it. I mean, we got to get the people who really want to do this work. And the absent father piece is, I don't know much about it. I have some theory about it because according to my son and my wife, they tell me I'm a great father. And so I'm just going to go with that. And I'm trying to be the best father I can be by being here for my son and for my godsons and nieces and nephews. So yeah, it's about building relationships. People who have relationships have everything. If you don't have relationships, you don't have nothing. And I was almost ready to cry listening to Isaiah because it sounded like I was listening to myself. And to know that he exists, that he and Timmy and Spoon are out there, man, I'm excited to know that they exist. Because we got people still playing with our children and playing with our people because they don't want to learn and they don't want to become responsible. So that's my forecast.
No, that's beautiful, Doc. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. All right, bro, Tim. Hey, bro, Tim, since you Corey. I'm sorry, Corey. Corey was next. Hey, Corey, since you directly boots on the ground, Corey, and I want you to answer this from if you have a story or if you have an experience with a young brother or young sister. And here's the question, Corey. Give us an example of what you did to prevent a violent situation from occurring. And then also, was it conflict mediation? Did you use conflict resolution? What exactly did you do from a training standpoint? How was you able to resolve a situation that could have been real ugly?
Well, what we were noticing as staff is that youth were saying that fights are occurring at the bus stop of Park Heights and Woodland. So nobody really want to take up the helm to go. You gotta go, you gotta go to the neighborhood. You gotta actually go and actually see what the young person, what's going on. Since I take that walk by myself, ain't been no fights. It's mutual respect. Hearing parents was coming out there to go and fight children. We also had a young man get shot with a BB gun, and we also in the back. And we know the cousin of a gun is a BB gun. So, what we were saying is that the violence was occurring. So go ahead and talk to you about many other circles, but what restorative practice don't teach, and as me and Brother Timmy was talking about, is that it don't teach how to go and restore relationships. So, we can go and have a circle but if you don't know how to make them young people friends again, they're gonna keep fighting. So this is beyond the training, this is beyond the book, this is beyond any curriculum that we can go ahead and do. It's real life. This boot on the ground and what you're going to do. We can be a crisis prevention intervention, but at the same time, when the crisis really pop up, the books don't matter. You hear me? You gotta go ahead and go right into it. So you know, that's what we do to go ahead and save lives, and we go ahead and champion every day. So just go to it. Go to whatever it is. And through respect, through love, ain't nothing like that gonna happen again as far as the fighting and the violence. Where you at?
That's good, sir.
Yes, sir. But thank you for that. And I know about them bus stops. Nobody want to go to the bus stops when it's 30 and 40 young men and they 6'5", 6'4", 6'3", and it's just two of you. Nobody want to deal with that. But I thank you for that, brother, because I know that's when you walk into them situations, you immediately looking to get some wreck, some combat, some sweat, some disrespect, and you may not come up out of there. So I thank you for that example. All right, so Bishop Billy, I'm going to come to you next, big brother. Okay. So I want to say about 5 or 6 years ago, we had about 4 climate guys in Booker T, Washington. And before the year started, Booker T, Washington, this was Principal Stewart at the time. Booker T was listed as the worst school in Baltimore City. And that's a middle school, and it was based on the grades. And I know Dr. Bundley know about that because he came over there, and it was some years ago, maybe 5, 6 years ago in that range. And I just happened to have my team in it. And I'm gonna be honest with you, at the beginning of the school year when it first started, I said to myself, I can't wait till the school year is over. That's how bad it was. But by God's grace, it took us 3 years. Give me about 2.5 years to turn that bad boy around. And it was a combination of the principal, the leadership, the teachers, of course, the climate control, and then even school police helped out because that's how bad it was. And then also Renaissance had to come down every now and then to help us out as well. That's how bad it got. So my question to you, Billy, what programs are we missing? And I'm talking about dealing directly with the violence though, because it's a difference from bringing in a program and have somebody mentoring young men and women. It's a difference from bringing in a program and having men and women to play sports. But what programs do we need that's going to be directly involved with the school violence that's taking place, that's spilling over to the schools and vice versa to the community?
So Cap, that's a great question. And the former speakers actually answered the question. See, you have to have the ability to get the right people. What they innately do, a book can't teach them. We from the hood, we from the community. We've been there and done that. So you have to look for programs who have their pulse to the community, who can get these cultural influencers, who can recruit these credible messengers, who are not afraid to go where they need to go, who also understands life through the reality of the young people, who understand the underlying issues that's causing them to be dysfunctional. So you not only got to be passionately and concerned, you can't be afraid. You understand? And so when we talk about programs, like I said earlier, you can write a good program. I mean, you can write a great conceptual program that looks good on paper, but can you recruit the right people to implement that program? Restorative circles only work if the right person implementing a circle. Mentorship only works if the right people are engaging our young people. And that's my argument, even to the school system at times. When you're looking for programs, you have to look for programs who are really community-based, grassroots. Everybody on this call tonight, we are 100% grassroots, from Dr. Bundley to Roger Shaw to Tim to Brother Isaiah. All of us are grassroots. That means that I can make a call to somebody and say, man, Tim calls me all the time and still give me advice. Man, you need to get this kind of team over there. I got a person for you. So when you're talking about recruiting programs, you have to recruit programs that are connected, that are grassroots, that can get those phone calls, that can get the people in the schools who can engage our young people. It's not that restorative practices are bad, whole child approach is bad. It's you have to have the right people engaging. And while we do get trained, as my brother said, and we get these certifications behind us, we innately do what we've been trained to do. When we get certified, we're just able to speak the language to help them to understand how we're able to do what we can. Now, they have value too, but we send a Marine, when there's a problem, we send the Marines in. So we, in lack of better terms, we are the Marines. We recruit these type of people that can go in to engage the mind, to engage the culture by being present. That brother walking to the bus stop, because children don't really want to be dysfunctional. They're waiting for loving adults to step in. The moment he went to that bus stop to put his life on the line, to step in, he let every child know, I love you and I'm not afraid of you, and I love you enough to step in between this to stop the violence. And these are the type of programs that we need, whether it's New Vision, your program, or others. We need programs that are grassroots and community connected, that are trained to implement some of these evidence-based practices, of course, but their ability to do this comes from them coming out of this culture, understanding the culture, and their ability to look at life through a child's reality.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah,
Awesome.
thank you for that.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Yes, sir. All right, good stuff. Hey, Big Tim, I'm coming to you next, Tim. So, you know, what I'll just use Booker T as an example. I spent the entire year there, so I'm normally not at a school for 1 year because I get at least one call or two calls a week from a principal. And so, but Tim, what I noticed, a lot of the teachers, let me just say, some of the teachers are afraid of the students, and rightly so. Some of our young men and some of our young women are very intimidating. They come to school looking like, you know, they give you that look like they potentially want to hurt you, or they want to hurt themselves, or they don't care, right? And then some of them, you know, are affiliated with some of these gangs and they don't care. So, hey, Tim, so how was you able to build the trust with these young men, the ones that we know that's affiliated, that we know that the average individual, you know, think this young man is crazy. He don't belong in school. He belong in juvenile justice. Oh, why am I teaching this young man? Why is he in school? Who's his father? Who's his mother? So how were you able to build the trust with the one potentially may have a gun outside or a gun on him? Go ahead, Brother Tim.
One of the things I did, for example, I had one of the students that was in my school. He was like one of the high fly guys that was like basically a lot of them was so afraid of, because apparently this guy was like really handling business. Mm-hmm. And me and the kid had words one time, right? Mm-hmm. And he actually flashed a gun on me on the second floor. And he was like, I'm gonna put this 4 nickel on you, keep running your mouth. So I waited a little while, you know, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, what should I do? How should I react? Like, should I react like I'm still in the street, or should I act like a professional who needs to help this kid? You know what I'm saying? Yes. So I'm just sitting there and I'm thinking, I'm like, I'm gonna give him time. I'm gonna fill him out, you know, for that day. And I just pulled him up. I said, man, I need to talk to you. Like, I really need to rap to you. So at the time, I would just happen to be making this wall and inside the New Vision room that was called People Can Change, right? And I was taking pictures and charge papers and pasting them up, and then like showing them like this who these people used to be and this where they are now. And then people could change until it's too late. And I put quite a few people in there that's doing life in prison. So I pulled them in and I had my papers in my hand. And I said, sure, let me tell you something, right? I'm here to do a service. I'm here to help you, right? Mm-hmm. But don't think for a second that I'm one of these teachers that's afraid of you, because I used to be you. I still know how to do what I used to do. I just don't, because I have stuff to lose and stuff that I'm fighting for. Mm-hmm. But here, check this out. And the kid looked at my papers and he like, yo, you was for real? I said, yeah, I'm for real. But I left all of that alone so I can make a difference for you and the rest of these dudes in here, right? Mm-hmm. And every day, this dude would come in and be like, yo, I'm going to go holler at Mr. Tim, or I'm going down to the New Vision room. I got to holler at these guys, you know what I'm saying? And then it became a group of them, because a lot of them like start coming in. They used to try to bring guns and everything. So I was like, yo, let me go to the front door. And they would come up to the door and I'd be like, yo, this ain't the streets. Y'all not going to do that in here. Like, leave that out there. You know what I'm saying? And we'll deal with whatever you got going on out there in here. We can talk about it. I got resources that help y'all. And when they saying I was for real, that's when they was like, oh, all right, cool. Like he's one of the guys. But the thing is, like, I had to explain to this one student, like, that stuff that you're doing to your teacher don't deserve that. Your teacher not in the street. Your teacher is trying to help you and give you something. Because if you really think you bad and you want to get off on somebody, do that to the brothers out there in the street that ain't gonna play with you and let you do all of that stuff to them. And it calms a lot of it down because they understand where we coming from, but I also understand where they coming from too. I had to realize a lot of them guys come in there, and even the females too. They don't have daycare for their child, so they frustrated. They homeless, they moving from house to house. They hungry, so they come to school just so they can eat and have a safe place to sit for a few hours because they've been out all night, you know? So it's like, we have to understand where they come from first, and we have to know what's next. And like I said, it was easy for me because I was them. Like a lot of people don't know, when I was 13 years old, I was homeless. I was sleeping in Drew Hill Park and sleeping in people's cars because I wanted to be a gangster and I disrespected my parents, and my parents put me out. When I was 15 years old, I could have got life in prison for the charges that I caught. But it was one man that gave me a chance, which was Ray Cook. Ray Cook is the reason that I'm here today.
That's right. All praises due.
So when the person say, oh, I need him out of here, or I don't want to teach him, or I don't want to do this, I ask them, who are you to say that you don't want to teach this child? Who are you to say that you're afraid of them? Because you never gave them a chance to tell them who you are or get to know them. And I ain't speaking about all the teachers, because we got some teachers that's boots on the ground too. But we do got some teachers that's not from Baltimore and don't understand our culture. They don't even live in Baltimore. They drive 45 minutes to an hour to come to work and go back home. So I get it. I understand if you don't know, but ask questions and we can help you. And that's what all of these brothers on here are good for. We all boots on the ground. And at some point, majority of us was them. So that's why I was trusted, and that's why the kids look up to me, and that's why they give me a chance. And that's why I'm able to still make a difference to this day. I can't make a difference with them all, and I'm not even gonna try to save them all. But if I can save that one, I know that one gonna save one, and that one gonna save one.
Yes, sir. Man, thank you, bro. Tim. Great answer, brother. And I appreciate that. And I just want to say that I personally don't believe that the teachers shouldn't have to do what you do, Tim, or what Isaiah do, or what Corey does. And I want to thank y'all, because I know it's other climate control leaders, and I know it's different titles as well. The teachers should be able to be free to teach. And whatever the problem is, coming through that door, that's our responsibility to strive to fix that before they get into that classroom and be a disruptor. You know, so our role is very important to get in front of these situations so the teacher can teach. You know, and that's a big concern in our school system, because there has to be another approach than the teacher dealing with that. I mean, that's a big issue. So I want to, Isaiah, can you hear me, Isaiah?
Yes, sir, Cap, I can hear you.
So with the work you've been doing at Connections, and you started at Booker T, when we talk about the approach and how to properly to engage young men and women, specifically from a training standpoint, like, you just can't, approach them and think they're going to give you the answers that you need.
Right.
It's something else going on there. So how do you establish that relationship to not only to get them to talk to you, but also to listen to you? Because there's a difference.
Right. Yes, sir. I would say coming into a school system, knowing that each child is different. I can't take the same approach that I take with one child that I may take with another one. They may have different backgrounds. They may be into different things. So it all starts, I think, with a conversation and learning who that child is, learning where they're from. Because a lot of times you have conversations with these children, because Baltimore is small. You may know somebody that they know. Oh, you know so-and-so? Oh yeah, I used to teach him a couple years ago. Oh, you know so-and-so? Yeah, he be around the way. So you build these conversations and these relationships with them, and you start to see that they see you, like I said, not just as a staff member, but as a community partner. And it's funny when you ask Brother Tim that question, I was thinking of a situation that just happened recently. You know, a lot of times it's always a couple that's going to try you. You know what I mean? You can say, come in there, you can show as much love as you want to, you can do all, but somebody going to try you. So the other day, one of the soldiers, we talking, and he bucked at me. You know how they buck at you real quick. And I ain't no tough guy. I ain't claiming to be no tough guy, but I didn't flinch. And he stopped. He said, damn, he ain't even flinch. I said, I ain't flinch because I'm not scared of you, but I love you. And it says in the book that perfect love casts out fear. So if I know that I'm not your enemy, you're not my enemy, I ain't got no need to be scared of you. I ain't got no need to fear you because I love you. So when we show the love that we have for them, it overpowers all of that. And then we show that we have a genuine concern. I'm not just talking to you because I'm getting paid to be here. I'm talking to you because I actually care what you're going through. And I noticed that you, like I said, you may be wearing the same thing over and over again. I may bless you with a shirt. I may bless you with a hoodie. I may bless you with a pair of shoes. And they'll never forget that. Dang, Brother Isaiah, you know, he got me something to eat. Yeah. Man, gave me a hoodie. Man, Brother Tim, he gave me a pair of shoes. And they'll never forget that. And another thing, Brother Captain, I always know, when you work not just with a child, when you tap into that family, because if we're student support, we're not just supporting the student, we supporting what supports the student. We supporting the families. We may ask mom, you know, so-and-so, you know, he had a rough day. Is there anything to help you all? And then stop calling the parents just to say something bad. Hey, mom, just calling you, man. You know, Corey had a great day, mom. I just wanted to let you know. So every time they call you, it's not something bad. And when they get home, they get praised for having a good day. Hey, Brother Isaiah called me and said you had a good day. That makes them feel good and build a relationship with you. Like, damn, Brother Isaiah looked out for me. Dang, Brother Corey looked out for me. He called moms and said I had a good day. Okay, all right. Like they say, oh, that's my man. Because I know he don't want to see me get in trouble. I know he don't want to see me get no disciplinary actions. He wants me to do better. So those are just a few tactics. But like Brother Corey said, it's not no book written on this. You know, a lot of it on-job training. A lot of it may be, you know, just going through the motions, you know, trial and error. You may fail on a couple times, gonna get cussed out a couple times, gonna get wild out a couple times, but you just gotta take it on the chin and keep moving. Yeah. And your love, power, all that. So I think those are a couple of tactics that we could use, Brother Cap.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, big brother. Brother,
Yes,
Roger Shaw. Roger Shaw. So this is a very important question. All of them was, but I really want you to take your time with this one because it may even spill over. But the administrator, the principal, the leadership role. We can't blame no one entity because it's a parent. It's the parents play a role, the family play a role, the community play a role, the business community, the neighborhood association, the school police. Everybody plays a role. The coaches plays a role in the development of our children, our youth. But we all know that it's a lot of good taking place, a lot of good that's taking place in our city. And I'll just start with this team right here that you all do every single day that nobody knows about, nobody hears about. But with all the good that's taking place, the bad seems to oversee that or supersedes it. So Roger, my question to you is, what more can we do from a leadership standpoint to get the good out there? Because anything that's good, it needs to expand. But what can we do, Roger? Talk to us.
All right, so great question. And you know, I'm going to start off by saying, as I listen to all the panelists and what they're talking about, right? When you talk about what's really, really good, we got to do it and say it over and over again, repetition, right? So, for example, when Dr. Bundley talked about building quality and connected relationships, right? And we see that that works, right? Billy talked about, you know, that community grassroots kind of thing. And Isaiah talked about the taxes that he talked about and how to get that thing going. So one of the things that we got to do is we got to bring people together and talk about this good. And these are the things that work, right? These are the things that work. Here's the evidence of why it's working. When you have schools that are not violent, why is that happening? What are they doing? So we got to go look at that and then emulate that. For example, if you have a school that's having regular conversations, and Isaiah said this, everything starts with the conversation. Everything. Right. And then you have schools that understand what a kid is not saying to get to his heart of what he really is saying. See, we gotta understand what schools that are doing really well do. And so it's about that conversation. It's about building that quality connected relationship. Another thing is I've worked with Billy, I worked with Tim. And I'll tell you the things that they have in common, that they're able to tell that story. See, people will remember the story. So the more we tell that good story, the more we tell how that student is changing and how the school is changing, it's gonna outweigh the bad. Right? Good always conquers evil. So the more we tell that good story, the more we demonstrate that good story over and over and over again, that's what's going to happen. The other thing is this, everything starts with a mission and vision, right? And so when you talk about your mission and vision as a leader, as an organization, and then there's the evidence behind it. And the evidence comes from the testimonies of the students, because they're going to tell your story. They're going to tell what you did for them, how you did, how you made them feel, and how successful out. So the students really get your story out.
Yes, sir.
Right? So that is it. That's how you do it. But again, it starts with the conversation, and we just got to keep going on and on and on. Last thing I'm going to say. Everybody knows about Fox 45, right? Fox, why? Because they talking about the bad over and over and over again. We gotta change that narrative and publicize our good over and over again.
Oh, that's beautiful. Propaganda. I love it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good. Okay. Hey, Doc, I'm coming to you, Dr. Bundley. So, Doc, now I want to give you two examples that happened today. To today, and one of them happened while we was doing our training today, and I spoke about it briefly. So, and Isaiah was the one who had to deal with it because I had to jump on this call. But without saying at school, a young man, it was a situation at the school, and a young man had a gun in his book bag today, Doc. Today. And the young lady came to us, and she's probably on this line. She came to me and told me and brought the young man right in front of me and basically let me know he was dealing with a situation. It was very serious. And they had a gun. The guy had a gun in his bag. And I understood what she was saying. I really wanted to deal with her right there. But I had to explain to her I needed to be on this line. And Isaiah was capable enough of handling that until I get off this line. Right? So that's one situation, Doc. The second thing was Marquise called me And a young girl got banked today at one of the schools, in West Baltimore. I don't want to say the school, right? But all this happened today, so we got to deal with that tomorrow morning, right? Because he told me the parents said they coming back up there and we gonna deal with this, right? So they didn't finish it. So every single day, Doc, every single day in Baltimore City schools, somebody getting jumped, somebody got a weapon, somebody getting their life threatened. And it goes on and on and on. And that's trauma, that's pain. And nobody wants their life to end while they're in school. And the parents at home thinking that baby at the school learning. And here you go, you have somebody taking that, get ready to take that child life. How do we deal with that, Doc? And I wanna say this topic again, Doc, so you can hear it. How do we reducing the impacts of community violence on the school environment?
Yes, sir.
How do we deal with that, Doc?
Yes, sir. And I've heard individuals on this line say what I'm about to say before, not necessarily tonight. What's happening in our city right now, when you look at everything that you're explaining, Dr. Powers said this all the time, like our children were not born Bloods, Crips, BGF. Our children weren't born drive-by shooters. When we look at them in the moment, if you're not astute, just as Tim was when the dude said, man, yeah, you see, he showed him the 4 nickel. If you're not astute enough to be poised, because what Timmy did was ask the question. You got to ask the right question to yourself as a leader working in schools today where there's a lot of trauma. And the question that Timmy innately asked himself, he didn't ask that student. He didn't say, what's wrong with that dude? That's not the question that Tim asked himself, right? Based on what was done with him through Ray Cook, may he rest in peace. Tim didn't ask what's wrong with him. Tim asked the same question that Ray asked. What happened? When you say our children aren't born drive-by shooters, but if they do a drive-by shooter, the question got to be asked, what happened? You weren't born that way. And not only do you ask the question, the other thing that Tim did was he was so not totally unfamiliar with something like that happening that he was able to be poised and effective. Because when he asked and realized that it was something more to that young man than the 4 nickel that he flashed, and he was able to talk to him, and he was talking about the vision board, he was able to be effective, and then he told the rest of the story. So that's the first thing that we got to understand. See, listen, all of this stuff, all of this experience with, I'm not even talking about the panelists, I'm talking about the people who are out there who set this up, you and the rest of them. As Roger said, we got enough to get it done. But I'm telling you, and I'm a dude that come from the hood, and as people say from my neighborhood, made good. But one of the things I've learned how not to be is recalcitrant as a professional. We got professionals that's so preoccupied with their status, their PhDs, their positions. They don't even want to hear from Corey Witherspoon. They don't even want to hear from Bishop Stanfield. They don't even want to hear because they're recalcitrant PhDs, arrogant, don't know anything, but running seemingly everything. And so we got to basically show force, but then a lot of they're not being able to solve these problems is humbling some of these people. They're starting to become more humble and come to those of us who know. So that's the first thing I think we gotta happen. We gotta make certain that we get the training. We gotta build the training for the real people who really want to do this work. Roger talked about exemplars that are models of excellence. There is what they call a positive deviance. This notion of positive deviance, in other words, is successful exceptions. You got all of the schools out of control with the same children, or in a school, you got this children go to all these classes and they acting out. Then they go to this class, they the same children, and they acting in. They in accordance to what they should be doing. That's positive deviance. That's a successful exception. We gotta stop just looking at that and say, well, you got it going on. No, we gotta go deep and say, how do we make that, which is the exception of positivity, how do we make that the rule across the school? That's why I had problems in my school. That's how when I taught Roger, and then Roger turned around and taught me, he ain't had problems in his school. And so it's not arrogance that Dunbar became and Carver, when he was down there, became what it became. It became what it became because Roger wanted to learn what I knew. He wasn't recalcitrant. He wasn't arrogant. He didn't talk about, oh, Doc Bundley, I ain't trying to hear that. No, you gotta submit to Isaiah. Mm-hmm. As a 61-year-old man, I gotta submit to Isaiah. Mm-hmm. And that's what we gotta get in our city. We gotta get these recalcitrant people that, yeah, they got the credentials, they certified, but what we've learned is that every certified teacher is not a qualified teacher. Mm-hmm. You can be certified, but not qualified. Mm. Right? And so that's what's got to happen in this work. And then the last thing is this, and I'll never get away from this. And I've lived this my whole career. Now I'm in my second career now, right? The power of love. Mm. Love, you call it programmatic love, but it just changes the conditions. Mm. We change people conditions. Isaiah said it. So that's what I'm saying. We can keep veggie backing on each other. You gotta be able to change the condition. So if a youngster is in pain because they got hunger pain, then love is food. You feed them. Mm. If they're confused and they're in pain through mental pain because of confusion and trauma, how do you help iron out the pain? Mm. And so we gotta have people. Listen, one of the things that I'm not doing, I don't have to do that anymore. There were times that I remember having a buck dance. I ain't buck dancing no more, right? But I'm telling you, we gotta make certain where our children are. We gotta make certain, when we see one school that is got a hell of a group of youngsters, but they all are falling together, we gotta make this leadership do what needs to be done. And I'm not talking that we gotta be gangsters, but we gotta make the people who are in position of leadership do the right thing by the people. If you don't know, I don't care what like somebody said it, people don't care about how much you know, they wanna know how much you care. I don't care nothing about your position. I care about your practice. Because I believe in my eyes still. They getting bad, but my eyes ain't totally bad. My eyes ain't lying to me. So that's what it is, Kat. We gotta make certain that we make these people in positions of leadership. We gotta make them do the right thing. And in some cases without forcing them to do it. But the way that I've learned how to do it is to study my craft. This is why I love being on the call, and I'm glad that you put me on a call with Corey, Isaiah, and Timmy, because they're the generation now, right? You got to be able to know that people, when they have it, give them credit for having it, and then continue to nurture them, and create more of them. Remember what I said, addition and subtraction. Watch those people who are doing good math and bad math. If you're not adding to the lives of our children and our people, if you're not multiplying the good in our people, but you're doing subtraction and division, taking away from them and dividing us and all that stuff, we gotta deal with those people. And then I don't no longer, Stokey always talking about we don't call people out, but they gotta be willing and humble enough to be called in. We ain't gotta call people out. We need everybody in the game. but you got to get called in if you're not doing right. Because the time, as they said, Dr. King said, the time is always right to do what's right. So that's where we are. I think we're going to get this done. I'm trying to stay in shape, Cap. I'm trying to get in the gym like you and all of that stuff, but I want to be around to see this thing happen. And I'm excited about what's going to happen because these people, we're going to make these people do what's right. Baltimore is going to be different. We're going to make them do what's right.
Yes, sir.
So that's where we are. We got to make them do it.
Thank you, Doc. Go ahead, Adam. Thanks, Doc.
Yes, sir. I appreciate those words, Doc. And just FYI, I always joke with people that I've known Dr. Bundley since I was about 15 years old. He taught me and my brother in Walbrook High School. So in Walbrook, not even around no more. So I always give props to Dr. Bundley for his tremendous positive impact on my life as well. So appreciate you, Doc.
I love you, Adam, and I'm proud of you.
Love you too, man. I want to pause for a minute. I know that folks in the chat, I've seen folks who giving a lot of good feedback. I did want to pause for a moment and give people an opportunity to ask questions because we are currently at 7:30 and I want to be mindful of people's time. Just want to give folks a quick reminder. If you want to ask a question, you can raise your hand. So you can click that button at the bottom of your screen that says raise hand and you can be allowed to speak. So you can actually ask a question verbally. You can also type a question by going to the Q&A, by clicking the Q&A button and just typing in your question in the chat box and that box, the Q&A box, and we can make sure we get to your question tonight. And if you look at the chat right now, I'm just going to send a quick message to everybody that says you can fill out tonight's survey. And we want to make sure that, the information you're getting here is useful and helpful to the work that you're doing. And so filling out the survey is not just information that sits on the shelf. It helps us directly improve the outcomes of each event. So, and I put it in the chat and I can also share it on the screen for everybody in case you can't see it. This is the URL you want to go to, bit.ly/BB session 2. So you can go to this link, fill out the survey. You can do it while we're still doing the event tonight. We're just going to do some Q&A in a little bit. But I just want to encourage people to fill out the survey. And if you have any questions, either raise your hand or put it in the Q&A box. And I'll chime in case anyone has any questions. But Cap, I'm going to let you get back rolling with tonight's event. I appreciate you.
Yep, and I appreciate that too. So Adam, please jump right in if you get a question. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Great. So, hey, Corey, so I'm coming next to you, bro, Corey. And hey, Corey, so one of the things that I know in regards to the violence that's taking place in the schools, we know that has to change. We know that. And unfortunately, too many young people are being shot. Too many young people are the perpetrators. Too many young people are being locked up. Too many young people are affected by the environments that they live in, and they still have to go to school. So this is a question really for you, Isaiah, and Tim. But I'm gonna start with you, Corey, because you all three of y'all are boots on the ground.
So this past Saturday, I went to a funeral of a young man's brother in the school that got killed. We had it's crazy how things go full circle. He had just shot the young person in the back with a BB gun. And so, when we had our circle with the young person that he shot, coming to find out that his brother had just died. So this young man was responding to violence, right? So I went to his funeral. I prepared the young man. I let him know that the first time I said, "Did you cry yet?" He said, "No." I said, "The first time you see your brother in the casket, you want to start crying." God had me in that funeral so I can go ahead and witness that young man. As soon as he saw his brother, he started crying. He started breaking down. So what we're saying is that violence is spilling over from the school to the community. We're seeing it, and our young people are learning to go ahead and perpetrate and use the gun because their brother has a gun, their uncle has a gun, that somebody has been shot. So the process of violence is being taught to our kids through what they see every day in Baltimore. So how do we treat the young person who's upset because his person is his uncle or loved one that's being killed? We gotta go ahead and love on them, but we gotta go ahead and be the person that they trust. So the question was asked earlier, how we build trust. Listen, I'm not from Baltimore City. I'm from Catonsville. So like, how does a person from Catonsville build that relationship that exudes? It's all through love, and it's constant love. It's never stopping. It's being relentless at it. It's delving in. When you have a conversation and the young person says, "I ain't eat," and you go ahead and be like, "Oh, for real?" And those conversations might be talking about football. And he just go ahead and look at it and like, "I ain't eat." And you go ahead, "Hey, we need to go ahead. We talk to the community coordinator. We need to get this young person gift cards to Giants." And we go ahead and stack the refrigerator up. Yeah, hey, listen, y'all. If y'all know me, anybody on this, y'all know that I'm on line constantly asking for help for my young people. I don't have that no humility in me. I make sure that I'm sorry, I don't have no ego in me. I have nothing but humility. So I make sure that we get our young people what they need, because what we're saying is that if we don't get them what they need, if we don't act now, if we don't get it now, they're gonna get it.
That's right.
When they get it, it might lead them to their grave. So that's what we don't want. So, hopefully I asked the question pretty well, but I just had to go and speak from the heart and away from the.
Hey, listen, I wasn't even finished answering the question, but I'm glad you spoke from your heart. That's what the people need to hear. That's a part of the training process, because it's the realness of your heart that's going to make the difference. Like y'all saying, it's not in the book. It's what you do every single day. It's training. It's training, what you do every single day.
Training.
And you can't write that script, bro.
That's right.
That's in your heart. That's in your mind. That's in your soul. And that's the difference from what you know and what you can train and teach somebody on how to navigate through the school system that really don't have the training and knowledge that you have, because everybody don't have what you have, brother. And trust me, you could lose your life with one wrong decision because of the mental instability of our children, of our youth. So thank you, because how long you been doing it now?
15 years.
15 years. Thank God. Thank God, 15 years. And it's we can almost say we at war in some situations.
Mm-hmm.
Really, because there's certain tactics and maneuvers that we have to use, because sometimes it's not the child, it's not the youth. It's his brother, or it's his aunt, or it's his mother, or it's his father, or it's his cousin, or it's his homie that want to come up to school and shoot somebody because you handled him the right way and they didn't like that. So thank God for your training, brother. Thank God for your heart.
Yeah, and it's also learning how to waltz. And I say this all the time, is I teach people how to waltz. Like, what you mean you teach people how to waltz? I teach them how to go in and work with parents as well, because our parents will get the text from the kids, and the kids will go ahead and be like, "Hey, Mom, this happened." Mom, she acts in panic. And when the question was asked about the absence of the father in the house, a lot of times what we're saying is that the youth are acting in panic because, wow, mommy acts in panic. Daddy, that when we talk about the parent and how is everything supposed to be, when we talk about the parent, the father is the more stoic one, the more wise one, and go ahead and teach, okay, if you do this, if you go in and hurt this young man, possibility that somebody will come and go and inflict even more harm on you. So when we talk about the impact of the father not being in the house, that's another impact of the father not being in the house. Like the young person is going to go ahead and mimic the acts of the only person that he knows to be on charge, and that's his mom. And so a lot of times, they'll wild out, or they'll do things that they're not supposed to, because that's the only way that they know how to go ahead and act.
Yes, sir. Thank you, brother. Thank you for your passion too. Bishop Billy, you on?
Yes, sir. Right here.
Okay, great. I see you. I think I see you. Where you at?
Right here.
Okay. All right, good stuff. So look, Bishop, now your role is a little different. Your role is a little different. You in how many schools you in?
We're in 7 schools in Baltimore.
Seven schools.
7 schools, yeah.
And how many staff members you have?
About 35.
35. And their responsibility is what?
Exactly what Tim and our brother does, Brother Corey. Their responsibility is to build relationship with children. Their responsibility is to make our children feel safe. Their responsibility is to reach out and build bridges between the parents and the school. Their responsibility is to do just that. We hire people who we feel as though can positively impact and build rapport with our young people. We look for people like Tim, Corey, Isaiah, the whole 9 yards, and put them in schools, mentor, whatever you want to call it, restorative practice, whatever you want to call it. But we hire those people that we know can go into these cultural environments and understand life through their reality, understanding that our children are dealing with underlying issues, and engage our young people. And what we have discovered, Captain, the biggest problem in the school are the adults. And I'm not saying that we're perfect, but we are quick to, train, coach, and all those things that we need to do. Roger will tell you that I'm quick to correct things if it's wrong. But what we've learned, the biggest problem are the adults. And it's like Dr. Bundley said, why are you teaching if you don't love children? If you're going to teach in an urban environment, schools are now the surrogate homes. The lack of fathers, and what did Tookie Williams tell us when we watched his documentary? He said, when my father rejected me, the streets became my father and the gangs became my family. And now with social media, that's on a whole nother level, because people are expressing themselves on social media. Social media is where people get self-esteem, feel relevance. It's a whole lot going on. And all these issues, these underlying issues of their orientation life, not having fathers. In some cases, their moms are not the best, because a lot of them haven't been trained how to be parents. And so now the children's orientation in life has not been conducive for them to develop cognitively and emotionally. So now they have a right to be angry. So they come into school, and in a lot of cases, we have teachers, not blaming all, we have some great teachers, we have great administrators, but I have learned that the problem are the adults hiding behind their degrees, something Dr. Bundley said earlier, hiding behind their degrees. And we in this environment, we need real people teaching our children. Children need to understand, our adults need to understand that our children wasn't born this way. No, we're not condoning behaviors, but what are the underlying issues? So through the grace of God, I've been able to recruit and train and work with people like Tim and others who are able to go into these school environments. Because now, I'm 53 now. I was in the streets 20-something years ago. It's a whole different dynamic now. And to hear Tim and to hear Isaiah and to hear Corey and all of them articulating, we know that the future's in good hands, but we still got to keep training them so they can do better than us. But that's pretty much what we do, man. We implement evidence-based practices, but we hire those type of people to implement these practices, because it's more than just this evidence-based approach. What they have in them is the ability to get close to the problem, because they understand life through their reality. And
hey, let me jump in and ask you this question.
Yes,
do you think that it would be conducive for the climate team, or just say the CEO said, Billy, can you put together a team to help train the teachers, to help train the principals, to adjust to this new culture? Is that missing with some of the adults? And I'm not identifying teachers.
It's missing because groups like us, all of us, we the ones that need to be doing this training for this specific reason of how do you build relationship with our urban youth right now? Because quite frankly, many of them don't understand. It's like the brother said, yeah, I'm a train sport and practice, but they ain't gonna teach you how to build a relationship. It's not. You can't, a person must told me, don't try to touch what you don't understand. If you truly don't, if you're not passionate and concerned, love our children, you really don't understand the why. Somebody mentioned that earlier, the why, these underlying issues. And I'm not saying that in training our teachers, our teachers need to become more aware and more empathetic. So we meet teachers that are so angry with a child that no matter what that child does, they're gonna try to find a way to get them out their classroom. Honestly, I see Corey shaking to see. We don't need, we got to understand these are our children, and you're teaching in Baltimore City where children have issues, you know, they don't know what next time they're gonna eat. Well, we've met children where we was in this intake in one of Rogers schools that we had, it was EMAT. And the child was coming to school just acting, the EMAT was good. We had the right people. I'm just giving this example. The child was coming to school, doc, zapping out, going off, right? And so we did a intake. We had the parents come in, we did a parent teacher conference, and we all, Miss Carey, me, we all sitting around the table, and we watching the mother tapping the child on the leg, you know. He said, look, I'm tired of this, I'm mad. She the reason I'm mad, because she told me to go to the block, bring the money home so she can, so I can get food and brothers, and then she food from my siblings, and then she takes the rest of the money to get high. And then when we leave the meeting, we walking down the hallway, and she said, well, can you give me a few dollars to get home? This is the normal day thing. Or say, for instance, this, right? We had another incident. I can give you story after story. We had one Cap where a father was getting high. He was living with the girlfriend, okay? And the younger boy bucked up against the father. The father shot the younger son. He lived, okay? The younger brother was able to get put into the system, the foster care system. But because the older brother was already getting ready to be 18, guess what? There was no resources for him. This young man already experienced that emotional trauma by his father, separated from his little brother, and now transient. And you're wondering why. A teacher never takes the time to say, what's wrong? Wait till everybody leave and say, what's wrong? So that's the difference, Doc, when you talked about that. I forgot the phrase you used, Doc, but it was right on point. How can a child behave himself in one class and don't behave himself in another class? Because that teacher in that class is giving of themselves. They can feel that that teacher loves them. They're teaching a curriculum that's relevant. They're taking the time to get to know them. So in that class, because the teacher is passionately concerned about what they do, the children engage. In the next class, how come they're not doing the same thing and it's the same student?
Thank you, Bishop. Great example, brother. Tim and Isaiah, I'm gonna ask y'all this same question. I want both of y'all to answer this because
I'm sorry, just real quick, Cap. We got a question. We had a question earlier saying, do you folks at this call work with LGBT youth?
And what capacity? Is it anything specific, or is just a general question?
General question, nothing. And whoever actually says it was an anonymous person, but if you want to be more specific to the person who asked this question.
No, you don't have to do that. I don't want to tell them. Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely.
And Kat,
yes, sir.
Let me just step in. The answer is yes. And we got to do training when we deal with, and you know this, Kat, because when you and I took over the office, when created the office at the mayor's office of African-American male engagement, that's one of the domains that we work with. But, you know, we had a situation, Timmy, I don't know if you remember, over at the school, over at Achievement Academy, you got to be able to deal with our children because they're going through a whole lot of stuff. So the answer is yes, but it was this young guy who was dating a guy or a young lady who had who identified she identified as a lady, and the dude liked her, but it was in the closet. And he also had a girlfriend that wasn't transgender, and so he got caught between the transgender girl and the girl, and he wanted to fight because the transgender was saying, listen, I'm in a relationship with you, I'm thinking it's authentic, and you just playing me. So we got to do some training with that, because those are real issues that arise, and somebody almost got hurt in that situation. So yeah, the answer is everything. Somebody said it, based on the reality of what we experience. Great leaders are going to meet the reality head on right there where it is, because everybody that's in our schools, in our community, deserve to be met based on their reality. Bishop said it several times. You gotta understand people not through your eyes, but through their eyes. Great leaders do that.
Thank you, Doc. And just remember, relationships are key. What I may not be skilled at, Tim and Isaiah will be, and that's the reason why we have this august body of men on here, because Baltimore brothers can't do this by themselves. That's why we in this condition we in right now, because one or two people believe they have all the answers.
Right.
And it never works that way. That's why we got enough evidence to show we need unity amongst the leadership to get this done right, especially when you're dealing with our babies' lives. So the question I have for Isaiah and Tim, and I want y'all to think about this, because this is really something that, and this is for Corey as well, but y'all two need to answer this. This is for, this can be a model moving forward as it relates to the training, because you all can't be effective boots on the ground 5 days a week, sometimes 6, sometimes 7, depending on what you're doing on Saturday, depending on what you're doing on Sunday, because it may be on your mind, it may be at your kitchen table, it may be at the church, it may be at the mosque, it may be in the streets. Some of that stuff you take home and you got to deal with it. So what exactly, if I said to you all, what do you need to do a great job 5 days a week? What are some of the things you all are missing? And I just want you to think about that, because you may say more manpower, you may say more resources, you may say more the ability to do whatever. But I just wanted y'all should know, because you do this every single day. But how can your job be effective? How can you save more lives? How can you reduce the violence more for what you do every single day? So when you come to school, Isaiah, you know it was a fight the day before, maybe brewing. If you had the right resources, that means you'll get in front of it. Same with you, Tim. And Tim, you can go first. What you understand the question, Tim?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Well, for one, with my population, like it would be more resources and training. I'm gonna say training for myself as well, because I mean, like, you know, the guy asked, the LGBTQ community, that was something new for me, you know, and it was new to me as far as that age bracket, because, you know, I have people that's in the LGBT community in my family. So I understand, you know, their lifestyle. So it wasn't really hard for me to get a relationship with them, but it was kind of hard for me to understand the situation that was going on at that time. You know, so it was like, well, how do I deal with this? So if I was better prepared for as training, I probably could have been more successful at my job, which not saying I wasn't successful, because we actually worked it out. And it wasn't just like me, it was like a group of it. It was like, you know, me, the other brothers from New Vision, you know, Dr. Bundley, Yala program, which is Mama B and them, you know, it was like, it took a collective of us to come together to get this thing, you know, going. And it's the same thing, you know, and also, another thing is, I wanted to say this earlier, you know, to piggyback off of Dr. Bundley, you know, a lot of them CEOs and, you know, heads of these companies, I believe they want change. And I believe that they want to receive change, but they're afraid to ask for the change. They're afraid to ask for the training. They're afraid to ask for help. And that's where the failure is coming from. And I'm telling you now, I'm not afraid to ask for it. We need more training. We need more help. We need more people from the community inside of these schools.
That's right.
Because I can't do it all by myself.
That's right.
And just like you other brothers can't do it all by yourself. Because at some point in time, it's going to become draining. And you're not going to have time for your family.
Right. That's right.
Now, I'm one of the people where sometimes I bring my work home with me. Because it's no telling when one of these kids might call. I had a child that called me one time, 3 o'clock in the morning, because they was fighting. And I'm like, man, I gotta go out here. Like, I can't not go out there. I had a kid one time that asked me, say, hey, Tim, I go to court tomorrow. You think you'll be able to go to court with me? And I'm like, I can't tell him no. But the line of work that I do requires me to be in the school building inside of a classroom all day. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So sometimes I bend the rules and go against some of the rules to get better
Results.
better results. And it's like, do I get disciplined for this or do I get accolades for this?
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of the ones that'll take the discipline in order to get the results.
Yes, sir.
And that comes from having better training
Yes, sir.
and having people like Dr. Bundley, even you, Cat, you know, and then brothers like Isaiah, like I see him on social media a lot, giving quotes and talking and everything. And I'd be like, damn, that brother's strong. And he helps me keep myself on my toes and, you know, become stronger. Even like with Bishop, I call him all the time and be like, hey, Bishop, look, there's some things, you know, that's not right. You know, just back up a little bit, let these brothers handle this for a second. And he'd be like, you know what? You're right, brother.
Beautiful.
So
Beautiful. No, good answer. Thank you. Go ahead,
peace,
Brother
Cap.
Isaiah.
I'm sorry, Cap. I just want to interject really quickly.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, just doing a quick time check, just trying to be mindful of folks' time. We have one question in the Q&A, and so I know that Brother Isaiah, I know that you had him next. So if we could do this after he goes, we could do this next question. We can close out this evening, if that's all right.
Yeah, and I want Roger Shaw to, we want to make sure we give the instructions, and we can have Roger Shaw just give a brief answer to the last question, because he will be the last one at Isaiah. And,
Yes,
and Dr. Phil just gonna give the instructions for next week. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, go right ahead, Isaiah. Thank you, Adam.
Yes, sir, Brother Cap. I'm not gonna lie, you know, Brother Tim, he really said it all, things that we need. But if it's 4 things that I could think of that we need, number 1, I think it's willing, manpower and woman power. You gotta have people that's willing to go into these schools and deal with our youth. Everybody's not willing to do it. Some people do it because they say they need a check. Man, I gotta go in here and do it because I gotta feed my family, and that's just what I gotta do right now. That's not willing, that's working. Working, that's not willing. When you willingly want to go inside of these schools and want to change inside of these schools, that's willing. The thing I say, Brother Tim said it, training. Because you can have the heart, but you might not have the training. See, you want to go in there and help our children, but you might not know how to talk to our children. You might not know what to say to our children. You may get so frustrated in your emotions because the children call you a B. I'm just keeping it real. This is how our children talk. You get so mad and frustrated that you resort back to your old ways, right? And try to call it whatever you say, tough love, or I'm going to show them I ain't no chump and all of this. No, you got to be trained. We always taught to take plenty. We was taught to take a curse and give back a blessing. And it shows you that you love them more than they hate themselves, or they claim that they hate you. So these different seminars on how to work with our youth. And then not only just how to work with our youth, what are our youth influenced by? Why are they acting like that? Certain things that they're saying. They got all type of challenges going on. Some of the children will do the behaviors just based off of the challenges, the YouTube videos. There's all type of stuff going on. So it's just a training that I believe should be spoken about while dealing with our children. The third thing I would say is resources. We talk about, you know, doing this for the children and doing that for the children. It's so many people, and like Brother Timothy said, he said these CEOs, some of them want change. They may not be able to go into the schools and go hand in hand with the children, but they got resources. They can help transportation. They can help us with different venues we can take the children to. So if you do your part and we do our part on our side, then we can all help. Then I think the last thing is the one a lot of people don't want to talk about. It's money. It's finances. People have to feed their children. People have families that they have to feed. But it's always a blessing for you to do what you say you love, to do, but you get paid for. So it's really not work. You're really doing what you love, but you are receiving some type of financial stability from it. So I believe with all four of those categories, I don't think it's any school that we can change around. Not one. But all of it has to be centered with love. Every single person on this panel mentioned that at least once inside of this panel discussion tonight. All of that has to be centered with love. Once we get that, it's a clockwork. It's a cake.
That's right, Isaiah.
The rap, Doc. So I think that's what it is, bro, Cat.
Yeah, and I agree. I agree with both of y'all. Thank you. That was nicely said. And also we're going to we're going to be meeting with the CEO this month. So we're going to share this information with her because this is very important and we need change. You know, the schools need help. We want to support the schools. We want to support our children. So thank y'all for that. Roger, you on, Roger? You got the last question
Yes, sir.
From us. Hey, Roger, so I'm going to read the title to you. I just want you to respond, Roger, from your, how many years, bro, Roger?
I can answer that.
Something like that.
36.
Okay.
No, not that many.
Okay,
Not yet.
Hey, Roger, we need to hear your honest answer from a training standpoint. All right. So here you go, Roger. Reducing the impacts of community violence on the school environment. What does that mean from a training standpoint? What's missing? What we need to do, Roger?
So, I'm gonna say this right. It takes a collective to do this, but at the end of the day, when you talk about that school environment, leadership matters. Right? Leadership makes the difference.
Sure.
And so we have to train our leaders, those who are running the schools, who are the face and the voice of that institution. When I think of that title, the training needs to start there. Sometimes it's a mindset training. Sometimes it's like, how do I build quality, connected relationships with my entire school community? Sometimes it gets back to what Brother Isaiah said. Do I have the right, and Billy said, do I have the right people around me? Right? See, because I can't, if I'm a leader and I'm trying to impact youth in a positive way and deflect violence, then I got to have certain people around me. You know? And so that training is, leadership training is really, really the key. That is, the leadership matters.
That's
Everybody on this line
That's
is a leader.
That's right.
You build relationships, you have a mission and vision, but you put certain people around you.
Sure. Without a doubt.
Man, that's beautiful. You said it, brother. And we're gonna promote that. We got it. That training is key. I think Baltimore City Youth Front is on it because this what is all about. The training have to be expanded. It has to be enhanced, and we got to train the leaders. I mean, the culture is changing.
Yeah.
And we behind. We behind. So Adam, go right ahead, Adam. What's the question? Adam, can you hear me? Thank you, Roger.
Yes, sir. The last question we have for this evening is from Aaron. What are some of the experiences or strategies the panelists have used to engage youth from their schools or communities that end up being detained in order to support their transition back into community? So this relates to folks, the young people who have been detained. What are some of the challenges and experiences or strategies that folks have experienced in relation to that issue?
So Kat, let me take that real fast, and then I'm gonna hand it off. When I was principal, at one time I had 30 young people at Walbrook, and they all had boxes on. Most of the North Avenue, and Roger, you remember me probably having this conversation. When youngsters were being released, and they were high school youngsters in many cases, and they distribute them all over the place, the young people, they sent them different places. But I remember counting 30 boxes on the ankles of our youngsters. And so what that did was, and the youngsters wanted to be there after they got there. And so it was a reputation. But basically what you have to do, Adam, and for the person who asked the question in transition, and Roger does this all the time in re-engagement, he just listens. You got to listen to what their vision and their dream for their lives are. You got to know what they want. Just because they got a box on, they still are young people. They still are human. They still have vision. I watched Roger put a youngster who had a box on, because one time I remember the conversation. The principal at one of the, I won't call a high school, at one of the citywide schools didn't want the youngster in their school because they were just being released. And Roger was like, well, what that got to do with their being effective? But it was that fear. It's that not understanding our people, and it's everything that was said, that a lot of people are just distant from the reality of our children. And the essence of that kind of statement was just fear. So we got to have the training. So we just got to listen. I think we just got to listen, Adam, and the person who asked the question. We got to be able to just talk to our children. They're not animals. They made mistakes, but some people think they're foreign, man. They need to go to them alternative schools. They sent them over there with Tim because he got locked up because he had 2 guns. He got a 9,000 SAT score, but he had 2 guns. So he can't do well at the citywide school, and probably had better grades than the youngster that had no gun.
Yes, sir.
But made a mistake.
If I could just interject, thanks for the question.
Mm-hmm.
One of the strategies that we use, and I've been reading this book, right? But you got to get to the emotional incarceration. See, you got to begin to help young people release from their emotional incarceration, right? And we call it trauma, or whatever, all those different things. But that thing runs deep. That thing runs deep. I saw a video. They called me to the I saw a video of a student in the 7th grade, I think it was, stab another student. This is on video. But here's the thing: when they called me up there to talk to the student, none of them, I said, brother, you did not want to do that. I saw it all over your face. You didn't want to do that. That's not who you are. But they tell me you like bringing these knives to school. That's your thing. So we're gonna deal with that. So what has happened?
That's right.
That you like, and I just talked to the principal, and long story short, just talked to the principal a few days ago and asked about him, because you got to follow up. He said, man, every day we gotta go through his pockets. He bringing yo-yos. He bringing little toy cars. He gets the chance to be a what? A child.
Yeah.
Dealing with his anxiety.
Yes. So we got to be able to, one of the strategies, how do we release children from their emotional incarceration? Because that leads to physical incarceration. That leads to violence if we don't get there. And it's a book called Cry Like a Man. That's,
Oh, yeah. That's, I know the brother. Yeah, that brother. Yeah. I got the book.
Hey, Roger.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Bald his brother. Yeah.
Roger, just real quick. That's what the mentoring, that's what these guys do. That's what these women do, because they're able to reach the children and begin to give them what they didn't get through their orientation to life. See, when this underlying trauma goes untouched, unhealed, it forms a perception where they begin to live a life through the negative trauma. That's the prison. So they relegate their existence based on all that trauma. And that's why they have the consciousness that they have and can kill easy with no regard. It's really a self-hate, a lack of self-love that has come through that emotional trauma. And it's these type of programs, implementing these antibodies, implementing these cultures influencers, these credible messengers, they are the ones who become now the surrogate mothers, the surrogate fathers, the big brothers. They begin to engage them to give them what they didn't get in most cases the first 10 years of their life. We know what psychologists say. The first 10 years of your life can either make you or break you. They form permanent scars. From a spiritual perspective, it says as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. That's your soul, that's your emotions, the way you see yourself when you close your eyes. So when they close their eyes, they see trauma. And that's how they connect with themselves and value themselves. And only this type of work amongst these people, I'm just being honest, I've learned this, whether it's the church, the community, these type of people who can get close to the problem play a critical role. While they're not clinicians, you can't ignore their orientation to life and the negative trauma they have experienced the first 10 years of their life, not being reared and nurtured properly. So we got to go back to the basics, and that's where the community and grassroots comes in at, because we're able to get close enough to begin to chip that wall down so they can see the benefit, they can see the value in themselves. And then I've learned real quick, when they trust us like that, then they'll allow us to refer them to a professional who can engage them on their level, just like we can, whether it's their mental health provider and things of that nature.
That's good, Billy.
Man, powerful, brothers. I'm gonna just let you all know, for me, this is being recorded, and I need to watch this again. This was powerful. I'm telling you right now. Thank you all. Thank you. This was powerful, and we have to. I'm gonna get with Baltimore City Youth Fund. Baltimore City Youth Team, and we have to share. This has to be shared in some way and form, and this needs to be used as a model, because the wisdom and experience and the love that was shared, and it be true, we really need to have 3,200 people on here right now. I'm telling you, this was one of the best experiences I had when you're dealing with this youth violence, man, and it's in our schools and the community. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Hold up, Corey. Adam, I know we got to respect the time. I want to make sure Dr. Phil can read the information for next week. That's very important. Is that okay, Adam?
Yes, sir.
Dr. Phil, can you hear me?
Yep.
Can we please give that information out, and we will be posted on all our websites and everything for next week, because that's go ahead, Dr. Phil.
Yeah, so it's actually up on the screen on Friday at 10 o'clock. We have a session for the technical assistance, because again, what we want, the group wants to be able to work with you folks to help work through on your programs, not necessarily only to write proposals for the youth fund, but essentially be able to use this information on what you're doing now. You can be using it tomorrow, you can be using it next week, but how can we help you work it through is one thing. And then next Wednesday, we talked a lot about what's going on in the schools today. The focus today was for people in the schools, how can they deal with the violence that's going outside of the schools? People talked about the amount of trauma that's out there. Next Wednesday, the session's on gang and clique activity with youth, breaking the cycle. How do we break that cycle outside of the youth, outside of the schools? How do we get those things going? And so the people next week are, again, Captain Andrew, Antonio Anderson from Hood to Hood, Raquan Montgomery from Baltimore Brothers, Eric Brown from Peace, Greg Marshburn from Safe Streets, Brandon Wilson from We Are Us. They're going to be talking about breaking the cycle outside of the schools, so that stuff doesn't come into the schools, but it's it's their other brothers and sisters. It's the nieces and nephews that are outside the schools that we need to be dealing with. It's a really important part. So hopefully you'll get your friends to come next Wednesday, and hopefully some of you will also be coming on this Friday at 10 o'clock to have this Friday is not more presentations. It's really a discussion, your questions, and how can the group help you support you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Doc. Corey, go ahead and take a couple seconds. I mean, we don't have a lot of time. Corey, go right ahead.
I already stated in the chat, but
Are you there?
Yeah, and I already stated in the chat, but
okay, beautiful.
Wraparound services are missing when youth are transitioning home from jail. It really is. Whereas though too many youth coming home without help or without guidance. So make sure that we get our youth wraparound services when coming home.
Yes, sir. Thank you, bro, Corey. Adam, you have the last word. Adam, thank you for your patience. Go ahead right here, Adam.
Hey, well, I just want to say I appreciate everybody for their commentary. I was listening the entire time, and powerful information being shared. And I hope that everyone that's still stuck with us, got extracted that information and it's going to apply to your programs. and your work with young people. I also want to say that I know you heard a lot of talking tonight, and Dr. Phil said it, and Captain Andrew said it, but I want to reemphasize it, that this Friday at 10 a.m., for 2 hours, you'll have some powerful leaders who you'll just be able to have conversations like this with. And it won't be like this. It won't be like a webinar. It'll be a meeting. So it'll be actually, you can be on the screen having conversation with folks. So I highly encourage, if you got anything out of this tonight, if you were inspired, if you want to ask more questions, I saw we didn't get to some of the questions we had left. But if you do want to get your questions answered and to influence your programming and work with young people, highly encourage you sign up for this Friday. And also I want to encourage everybody that's still here, while we have you just for a couple minutes, I want everybody to go to the chat, and I'm going to put the actual link to the survey. If you can go to that survey link right now, if you click on that button, it'll pull up the survey and you can actually tell us your feedback on tonight's event. Because one of the things that's been said a lot is that, you know, it doesn't matter how much knowledge you bring to the conversation. It matters how much you care about young people, and it matters also the work that you do with young people on a daily basis. And so we want to make sure that we're not doing that. We want to make sure that you got that message from this session. So if you feel like you got feedback to share, if you want to make sure that this is actually impactful for you, if you have feedback to add, I want to encourage you to add that to the survey as well. And we do that in real time. So what we do with these survey results is that we actually pull them up after each session and we review them, and we use that feedback to directly impact the session. So it's like a snowball effect. So what you say matters here. This is good. This is a safe space for you to say whatever you need to say to give us feedback. So I want to highly encourage folks, the 17 folks that are still with us this evening, to click on that link right now. Take about 5 minutes, fill out the survey, and just make sure that you tell us what you think about tonight's session. If you can't do it right now, you will be sent an email follow-up. But yeah, I just want to encourage folks to do that. And again, to reiterate, please sign up for Friday at 10 a.m. for the small group session. A lot of technical assistance and a lot of good information is going to be provided that session as well. But on a personal note, I've met a lot of these brothers, known these brothers over several years, and I've seen the fruits of their labor. And I think that I can personally attest to the fact that everything they're saying is true. And so I want to make sure that people take their words, take heed to their words and their advice, and in terms of how to work with young people. And this is all about building on good, not just conversation but action to make Baltimore a better and safer place for our youth and young adults. So I want to say thank you to everybody who's come here tonight. Thank you to Captain Andrew for his brilliant leadership, per usual. I expect nothing less from him. And thank you to all the brothers who've been here tonight to give their profound commentary on tonight's topic. So that's all I got, Cap, unless you got anything else.
No, thank you, bro. Appreciate you. That's it, man. Thank everybody, man. This was awesome. I do have one question, Adam. And this is at what point we'll be able to share this with the community? And it's just a question. And if you can answer it later on offline or whatever, but I wanted to use this as a model at some point to share with the schools and the different training sessions.
Yes, sir. So one of the things, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Cap. So one thing that does happen after each of these events, we upload the conversations to the Baltimore Children and Youth Fund YouTube page. Tafari, if you're still on, can you put a link to that in the chat for folks who are interested? That we put it on our YouTube page. And so if you love this talk and you want to refer back to it later, it'll be on the BCYF YouTube page. It'll also be uploaded on our website as well in the event archive. So you can always refer back to this conversation if you want to see something, if you want to grab clips of what folks have said or use some of the information you got from tonight later. It'll be in the BCYF YouTube page and website.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. That's it, brothers and sisters. Thank y'all very much. Thank y'all for y'all patience, y'all time. Everybody have a blessed night, and see y'all tomorrow, God willing. Thank you.
Yes, good night.